I hope this goes well now. I'm extremely sorry. My apologies. I was facing some network connections here. Um, so our previous live just got disrupted. Give us a second. Dr. Kinjal Chandra will be joining us again, and we are extremely sorry due to the network connections here. The live got interrupted. I'll just add Dr. Kinjal again. Hello, Meera. Meera joining us. I'm extremely sorry. I'm facing some network connections today at my place.
Absolutely
We'll let
fine, absolutely fine.
you as well.
No, no, we all are learning to be okay with all these glitches now. The lockdown is teaching us that.
I think it's going to be, raining. It's
Yes,
yours, which is why.
yes, yes.
So I'll just, walk our audience through, like Dr. Kinjal mentioned. As a kid, she wanted to pursue different careers as she was growing up. Then medicine, she was very sure she would be pursuing something into medicine. And then dentist was the profession she was headstrong about to achieve. And then faith came in her life where she lost a person very dearest to her, that is her grandpa, and that sort of brought some sort of imbalance for her to grasp and to accept that someone close to her is no more with her, and due to which her mark suffered, and then she happened to get into occupational therapy, right?
Yes, yes. So that was something even I had never heard about. I'm sure all of us who've joined us, and I'm sure I don't know about you, but you've kind of closely seen me work. But very, very few people know what occupational therapy is, and so did I. I had no idea what that was. I knew that it's not dentistry, whatever is coming my way. One reason was the marks, and second was dentistry, any which ways as a profession and as a course was beyond our financial, you know. So we that time,
Capacity.
the 12th HSC time was the time when emotionally also things were going bad and financially also we were not doing that great. So the course fees were beyond our family's limits. So I had to go to something whichever was coming my way, and that was occupational therapy. So I just chose it without knowing what that was.
And there was no support as such, like your colleagues or your friends who can update you about what next when you go to not dentist. It was your all
Not
self
really.
research.
Not really. There wasn't much of guidance available that time. So I'll just give you a brief intro about the family that I come from. So I'm the first doctor in the family. So we don't have people getting themselves educated that much. The reason being the finances earlier. So when I was young, we used to stay in a chawl in Ghatkopar, and my father used to work in the mornings, and at night he used to work as an auto rickshaw driver. So we have seen him kind of grow from, like, every stage by stage we've seen him grow. So when I was at my HSA level, there wasn't much guidance regarding what can be done about education and finances. So I had no option but to go through whatever was coming my way.
True. And then how did you do you remember your admission process the first day when you went and you were like, okay, this is what we do?
I think during that time and even during all throughout those 4.5 years of course, I was into the college, but I was always wondering about what will be happening in the with the dental students, because I got admission in DY Patil College of Occupational Therapy, and it's a huge campus. The college has a
Yes.
huge campus and has got lots of fields of medicine being taught there. So I am a friend of mine. Both of us wanted to pursue dentistry that time. So we used to kind of peep into the classrooms of dental students and wonder what are they learning. So those were the times how I spent my 4.5 years of occupational therapy.
And still we have you excelling at your career, having your own clinic, and people writing about you and like daily it's getting interviews on television. I mean, is there anything that you can't do or where your story is not written about, be it
Thank you so
magazine
much.
or newspaper, television? and doctor entries.
So see, that's what it is that when I started studying, as I told you, I wouldn't say depressed, but I wasn't very happy with whatever was going on. The reason was that I hadn't accepted whatever had come my way. So my heart was still into dentistry, which I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I was still trying to give my 100% to whatever that I had in the hand that time. 4.5 years were bad. You can ask any of my colleagues who were, with me studying during that time. I used to hardly interact. Very, very shy, very, very introvert, always into my own world. And you wouldn't see me smile a lot. I was in my own world. There was a constant battle between my heart and my mind and heart being into dentistry, and here me being into occupational therapy. But I think over a period of time, I during my internship, I was standing, in the OPD of our college, and I happened to see a child coming in. And he was absolutely fine. His hands were fine, his legs were fine. Overall, physically, he was absolutely fine. And he was just jumping here and there, spinning around, making some noise. And I was like, what is wrong with him? And how can I help him as an occupational therapist? That's when I got to know something called as autism. And that is something that intrigued me so much that I want to understand what that is. And if I can help a child like that, I think I can do wonders. Like what I meant by being into medicine was I wanted to help humans. I wanted, to serve humanity. So if OT is letting me do that in this way, well and good. So that was like a turning point where I thought that, okay, now let's do something about it.
So that one little boy was the reason your thoughts and your life changed. And then after
Absolutely.
that, you have changed lives of around like 3,000 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
3,000 kids through your 11 years of practice.
Yes, yes, yes.
I would like to know, how did Pehel, came into the picture? How did Pehel was born?
Okay, so after I graduated from college, I knew that I wanted to do something, and I started approaching the hospitals around Mulund. And wherever I used to go, it was the same scenario. They did not know what occupational therapy was. Now imagine, first of all, you didn't get to do dentistry, as in you didn't get to do whatever profession or job you thought you would want. One. Second, now you are into a field where there is no awareness about the field. Okay,
Right.
now the third thing, when I tell them what OT was, they don't know what kind of kids or what kind of patient population will I serve. So there is no awareness about your profession, and there is no awareness about the patient population that you're going to serve. So the amount of heartbreak that a young pass out graduate goes through is terrible. So I still did not give up. I tried approaching everywhere. I was rejected just because they did not know what OT was. And then came a time when I started working in NGOs to serve
Okay.
the needy. I started working in private clinics around because then they had occupational therapy and they understood what that was. And gradually came a time that we decided why not to have our own setup, and so that we can reach out to a bigger population and come up with our strategies, our treatment ideas. And you have a lot of freedom to do a lot of things when you have your own setup. That's how Pehel was born after I think 6 or 7 years of practicing into private setups, hospitals, NGOs, sheltered houses for children, all of that.
But it's really shocking, like you mentioned, even the hospitals, majority of the hospitals don't have this facility. Like they don't
Yes,
know
they don't
about
have.
it. And it's a shocking thing.
They don't know about it. Only thing that they know about is physiotherapy. And physiotherapy and OT are like allied healthcare professionals. They go hand in hand. And in the US, in the developed nations, there is a lot of understanding and awareness that's there. But in India, they feel it's physiotherapy. So we already have a physiotherapist. Then what do you do exactly? So then the whole energy
Right.
goes into explaining them that I'm not a physiotherapist and I'm an occupational therapist. So that's what it is. It was tremendously frustrating for me as a young practitioner who was out in the world. And then I took it as a challenge that let's do something about it. Let's create awareness about it. Let's create awareness
Right.
about what kind of patient population can I serve. And another challenge that came during that time was, if you are aware, if the kids with developmental disorders like autism or cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, okay, people consider either a child is normal or a child is abnormal. There is nothing in between. So then they feel
True.
that I am dealing with kids who are abnormal, who are mentally retarded. I will love to have such people come down to Behel anytime and watch these kids. They are so gifted, they are so brilliant, they are so intelligent than all of us. But just that those skills are not polished well, we just help them do that and they excel in their life. So the stigmas attached were another troublesome thing for me that I had to overcome. So it was one after the other challenge that started coming in my life.
But was it also difficult for parents, to make them understand that your kid needs help?
Absolutely. It is difficult to make the parent understand. For that matter, many medical professionals, because so many kids that I see with autism or with learning disability or ADHD,
Right.
these kind of disorders, you cannot see because there is no hand broken, or the child is not limping and walking, or the child is not stuttering. Everything physically is fine. Something is going wrong in the brain. Okay, so it is called
Right.
hidden disability. So the parents feel nothing is wrong. Many medical professionals kind of they just skip it. They don't do it purposely, but they don't understand how to identify those red flags. And if you see those red flags, it's time to refer them to somebody. So those were again those challenges that I knew where I had to face, and I started going and reaching out to pediatricians. I started reaching out to the schools around so that as early we can find them. If we can identify the red flags as soon as possible, early intervention can begin, therapy can begin, and within those earlier first 6 years of life, they are good to go. Majority of their issues will be sorted. So that's what I started doing.
And I think many of them already know Pehel. There is a huge number of people. I remember once one of my relatives got a call and they were just like, okay, you know this doctor, right? And we would like to have an appointment. Can you help us with her number? So I still remember this phone call, which made me realize, oh, like this girl is reaching heights. There are people who now know about her and are calling. We need her number. Can you please help? I think that's
I'm
the
glad
sign
to
of
hear that.
success. That's the
Absolutely,
sign of success.
absolutely.
And I'm sure you would not like to, mention about it being a person that you are. I know that you've been serving kids who are, who can't, pay the fees or, whatever the charges are. So just for the audience, if you could just tell us a bit about it. I know you would like to talk about it as like, okay, fine, I'm serving people without, any financials involved.
Yes, yes. So yeah, we do have our own share of therapeutic, services fees here. But then if I feel that the child is not coming from a stable economical status and the child really needs therapy, we do provide concessions. At times we do provide therapy for free, and then whenever we feel that the parents are now a little well to do, they can pay as per whatever they can. So that is one part of Pehel. Also many a time schools are not taking giving admissions to kids who they feel कि ये बोल नहीं रहा है, oh ये चल नहीं रहा है, oh he is not looking at us. So I do go to, like, this is full voluntarily that I go along with the parent to advocate for the child, explain the school about what the difficulties are and how can the child, by bringing about certain accommodations within the classroom environment, the child can be accommodated. And I am proud to say, in this practice of 11 years, we have kind of seen to it that around 70 plus children who came to us with a lot of difficulties in speech or social communication or play skills are now integrated well in regular mainstream schools, and it's a huge thing, and only a parent who has a child with these kind of difficulties would know what it is, because the schools, because they are not resourced enough, they don't understand how to deal with the kids who have certain difficulties. That's the reason they don't want to admit them. So once they know what those resources are and how can you help them out, things are sorted.
I think that's the biggest accolade and award that you would be happy getting.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, when
Super happy for that. Yeah.
exactly when child's life changes, not able to get into school and getting that opportunity to learn with, an abnormal lifestyle as other kids. Hats off to you. You're doing great.
Thank you so much. Means a lot.
The next question would be, like you spoke about your challenges, that one little kid was the turning point of your life and your career. What is your mantra of leading your life, living your life?
Over a period of time, I think the only mantra that now I live by. So when I was, searching for my, professional course, and I was, we at times approached quite a few people to kind of financially help us during that time that if I can pursue dentistry. Uh, I was time and again told that, being a female, you will definitely get married, you'll have kids, and, you will be settled in the kitchen. So why do you want to spend so much? My parents were told, why do you want to spend so much on a girl child? And if she was that intelligent and good enough, she would have scored marks, even though they knew that I have been consistently good at studies. So that were like, you can say that life was throwing stones at me in whichever way. So these were people not believing in me, the girl child thing and the female thing, and you belong to the kitchen thing. Then you get, you go to the college, you have certain other, college related issues. So when life throws stones at you, I would say collect all of them and start building your own castle and see what happens. It's magical. It is tiresome. It is very, very tiring. But the castle that you will build today will leave a legacy for others to follow. And I think that's what I'm loving to do now. That's the mantra of my life.
Exactly. That each stone was, asking you to, hey, girl, you need to give up. Hey, girl, you need to give up.
Yes.
And you were just like, no, no matter what, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to show you how life is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Be it dentistry, be it physiotherapy, or be it OT, if you accept it for whatever it is, you know what the limitations are and you know what the strengths are, and start working on those strengths. I'm sure you will excel. I remember, once I graduated from DY Patil, I was so stuck in my head that I don't want to do OT. I had a family physician, we used to stay in the building just below that. Trust me, for 2 days I went to him and I said, I will stand there and I will learn what you do. So he was giving sutures and he was giving injections and he was prescribing medicines. That's not something that we OTs do. It's a very different field. But I was so stuck up and not accepting OT as a profession that I did this as well. Then there came a time when I was working in two hospitals. I was working in the morning in an orthopedic hospital, and in the evenings I was working in a pediatric setup to understand where my, interest was. So it's been a roller coaster ride for me to understand finally where my calling was. Till that time, I saw that one child that day, and I knew that I want to go ahead in this. And any which ways, I had a lot of, love for kids since a child. So pediatrics as a bifurcation of OT, I think I was made for it. That's why destiny pulled me towards pediatric OT.
See, you were, maybe people say everything is destined. I don't know whether that was destined for you, or obviously it is all your hard work. That one kid changed your life. And he doesn't even know it. And look at the power.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think the younger generation misses these days? They give up so easily.
Huh. So I think when I was at that age, even I would have given up. And it's an honest confession, I felt like giving up so many times. Considering whatever I just explained to you, it wasn't easy. And again, I'm telling you, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but being a female, it comes with a lot of difficulties. So then once you study and then you get married, and then there are those kind of difficulties that you need to deal with, responsibilities, duties as a daughter-in-law. You become a mother, so those duties, so you have to juggle a lot of things, and you do feel like giving up at times. But what I can say is, don't fear failure. I have failed many, many times, but it just means that every time you fail, fall down, get up, dust yourself, learn the lesson that you made from the mistake that you made, learn that lesson,
Right.
apply it. And I'm telling you, if I have come into OT when the awareness is so less, it also gives you an opportunity to do so much in that field because it is so unknown. So it's an unknown
Absolutely.
place where I can do so much. And let's do that, create your own legacy and leave those footprints for a lot of other people who will follow through that. I never had that path. At least I created one for myself. So I'll tell you, recently I got a call from a girl who's pursuing OT. I was super happy that day. She said, "Ma'am, I saw you, read about you on Google, and my mother was super nervous about that I'm doing OT, but what will my future be? Because same like me, awareness is less and all of that." And when I made, she said that she saw to it that she made her mother see what my achievements was, and that there is somebody in OT who's doing so well, and there's so much scope in it, and there are these kind of kids that you can help. And her mother was finally satisfied that, I know my girl is into a good profession. That was like a big pat on my back, and that's what I meant. You create your own way, and you let others follow you as well.
Exactly. I think this is one of the reasons why one should not quit, because we might be feeling that we are not doing enough, but there are a lot of people who are actually getting inspired from what we do. Like like you mentioned the example, we think only there might be so many others who would be reading your stories somewhere right now, and it must be inspiring to them. It just
Absolutely.
never somebody somewhere is getting inspired by the story.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also had a mother who came to me telling me that what she didn't know what I do. She just said, I like what you do. I like the kind of kids that you are helping, and I want my daughter to pursue whatever you are doing. I am super happy that people don't know what OT is, but they know they want to do something wherein you can help these kind of children. So, this is what magic happens when you finally accept the situation that you are in and you learn from your failures.
And again, with this whole lockdown thing, you are also taking online classes, right? Your online consultations.
Yes, yes, yes.
Are you
So,
able to do it?
yeah, so again, this was a terrain where, nobody has delved into, nobody would otherwise if the lockdown wasn't there. So we are learning. Every day I am upgrading myself. And that's what, again, that's a life lesson that we need to learn, that no matter what your age is, keep upgrading yourself, keep upgrading your skills. And as you do that, I'm sure your practice improves, your understanding improves, and the way in which you can provide services to your patient population improves. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So, and also teletherapy is giving us an opportunity to reach out to children, not just in Mumbai, but all across the globe. So we have had kids coming from Canada, from Germany, from USA, currently Dubai, taking teletherapy sessions with us. We also had kids who came over here during their vacations, took therapies and went back. So I think, currently Pehel is like a 300 square feet small clinic, but if I can reach out to that kind of patient population with whatever work I am doing, I'm super happy about it. I never thought I would be here when I just graduated from my college in 2010.
I would like to know that one thing, which I don't know, many people must be asking you. What was that moment like when you received your award from the president?
It was surreal. It was, I know, I can never forget that. I still get goosebumps when I think about it. It just feels as if all the hard work was finally acknowledged, was finally validated, and somebody is acknowledging the fact that you put in all the hard work that you have. It was super. It was super. The whole experience of being in, a Rashtrapati Bhavan, having an opportunity to have lunch with the President of India, it was
Absolutely.
the plate. I still remember the plate, the smell of the food, and the spoon, and the whole ambience around. It's a big pat on my back and something that I can always, fall back to in the darkest of my days.
Absolutely. I mean, that would be fresh forever for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. All those hours of sitting outside a principal's office, a school principal's office, and they not letting me come in because they don't know who I am and why am I here for. All those hours of sitting outside a doctor's cabin or doctor's office and waiting for them to give me an appointment just to explain them what am I and how can I help them. Explaining parents what is wrong with their child and why do they need therapies. In
Absolutely.
fact, I have gone on to villages speaking to the villagers out there, the nurses out there, the Anganwadi workers out there, explaining them what these early signs of, developmental disorders are and what can you do about it. All of that was, kind of acknowledged on, when I met the president. So that's what it is.
We already are getting messages. You are an inspiration for us. Great work. We are proud of you, doctor.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
All of us are. All of us are. I think this is our third third conversation.
Absolutely, yes. And I would like to give you a big shout out to you. It's not easy. Like I said, like you were mentioning, ladypreneurs. Be it you are, you come from a journalism background, you come from a medical background, or whichever background, it isn't easy.
Right.
And you are doing wonders in your own field, Vaishali. And thank you for always giving me this platform to reach out to a larger audience. I really owe a lot to you, and I really owe a big thank you to you for that.
Well, you are the reason. I mean, like I said, you are an inspiration to many, which you might still not be doing. Irrespective of whatever field, they are into. So, like I said, we don't know who's getting inspired from us, so we should never quit.
Absolutely. And even if you can change that one person's life, I think you are doing enough. Life is sorted then. There's enough number of critics out there. There are a lot of people who are trying to pinpoint mistakes, one mistake that you do. And in this lifespan, if you can help one life, or you can change one person's life, or you can bring a smile on one person's face. So when a child comes to me and he cannot walk, and finally he starts running and jumping and mingling around and going to school, it's not just the child, it's the parent, it's the grandparent, it's the Masi, Masa, it's extended family. So, I feel super happy that I can do that. I couldn't have done that had it been that I was a dentist. I would have definitely got a better smile. Yes, but I wouldn't have impacted lives to this level, like that ripple effect of one child and the parent and the extended family and all of that. So I think I'm super happy there.
That was my another next question. How, as a person, do you deal with the negativity or the criticism that comes your way? Because I'm sure, at one point everybody is happy, looking at a person doing wonders and achieving accolades and awards at such a huge level. But I'm sure there must be a lot of negativity, criticism. How do you handle that? What is your approach towards that? Obviously, it must not be easy.
It isn't. It isn't. When you do a lot and you are working hard, and then, it's like an iceberg. A lot of things are happening here, but what you see is the tip of the iceberg, that the person is smiling, that the person is successful, that the person has got this award and that award. But below that, there's so much that is happening. There's so much of sacrifices, there's so much of self-discipline, there's so much of, personal life that is kind of, given up. So much of that is happening. An honest confession would be that I used to have terrible anger issues that time when people say you're simple lucky to, achieve whatever you have achieved. So, but now there was a time when I met a random person, and I just happened to talk, and he told me one thing, which I have made a mantra again, that work hard until you don't have to introduce yourself. Currently, I kept on doing stuff that introduces me, my profession, and the kids that I deal with, and the problems that I overcome, all of that. I'll keep doing it till finally I don't have to do that. It's just OT and people know what that is. It's just Kinjal and people know what I do. It's just autism and people know that it's along with the weaknesses, there are tons of strengths that the child comes up with. So that's what I'm striving for. And that's how I deal with all the criticism now. Just laugh it off, tell them I will have my day and this is what I'm working for. It just adds on to the burning fire. You have that anger, you just add on to it and you channelize it in the right way and you just keep building your castles. Just ignore them.
Keep on shining.
Absolutely.
Well,
And if you shine too bright, don't dim your light. Let them wear glasses. But you keep shining.
beautiful, beautiful. So, to put it in a few words, for all my audience right now, the viewers who are listening to us right now. So, right now, today, we are talking to that little girl who who was living in a chawl, who had different occupations in her mind ever she was like growing up. She wanted to be a dentist, then she happened to be occupational therapist. And that little girl from a chawl is now, I would say, is, you know, well known worldwide. Like she had mentioned, she has kids from UAE and California, like different countries, Canada. So I'm so super happy today we got to meet Dr. Kinjal, that little Dr. Kinjal that many people were not aware about, did not know her story. They know there is this Dr. Kinjal who is like super successful, ambitious, winning awards, but they did not know this little Dr. Kinjal, this little Kinjal who's gone through so much, and like she's shining bright. I think that's the best part, and that is something we all are taking from you today with this conversation.